A long time ago, in the Bronze Age, there were a group of people living in Scandinavia who would eventually become the Germanic people. This group didn't often use writing. They did use runes, but rather infrequently. Runes were mostly used for ceremonial purposes, like on swords or runestones. The fact that these people didn't write many things down means that we know very little about their day-to-day language. They obviously spoke some language, and we can make some very educated guesses as to what that language sounded like, but we have very little direct evidence. We don't know what they called their language, so linguists decided to call it Proto-Germanic, because it is the language all Germanic languages come from. Over time, these people moved around, and some of them ended up in Britain. The first Germanic people arrived in Britain in the 400s. These people became known as the Anglo Saxons. They were a warrior culture and loved telling stories of battle. Beowulf, written in the 800s, is a story full of great deeds, powerful kings, and fierce warriors. The dialects of the Germanic people who came to Britain mixed together, and over time a new language with new dialects began to emerge. This language is called Old English, or Anglo Saxon, and is the ancestor of the language I'm speaking right now. Beowulf was written in the prestigious West Saxon dialect of southern England. In the language of the Anglo-Saxons, the word for stone was stan. The line on the A there indicates a long vowel. There were many words that used that long A sound. Ban, meaning bone, is another example. People learn language from their parents and from those around them. What might have seemed a weird pronunciation to the previous generation is considered ordinary to the current generation. In this way, pronunciation can change over time without people really realizing it. The word stone is an example of one of those changes. Over time, the long ah sound began to be pronounced further back in the mouth. In the IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet, this sound is represented by the open O character. The sound later moved further back over the next few centuries to a sound represented by this IPA character. Finally, that sound changed once more, becoming the modern O sound found in words like stone, know, grow, home, and bone. There are a lot of words in modern English with this O sound, and we can find connections to other Germanic languages that you might not know. We talked about Proto-Germanic earlier in the video. Like we said, there aren't many words from this ancestor of the Germanic languages that have been directly recorded, but we can work them out via a process linguists call comparative reconstruction. Here, we look at the oldest Germanic languages and work out what the ancestor word could have been. The reconstructed word for stone in Proto-Germanic is steinas. That star is placed before the word to indicate that we don't have direct evidence of it, but rather that we reconstructed it from the older Germanic languages. We can see this I sound in the Proto-Germanic word. The sound changed in the development of German, but it eventually became I in modern German. If a language keeps a word from its ancestor, then that word will follow the sound shifts that happen through the centuries. This means that if we can find a word in the modern language with I, then that word might be descended from a Proto-Germanic word with I in it. But of course, languages are not only messy, but also complicated. Not all words that contain AII in Proto-Germanic became words with O in modern English, and not all words in modern German with EII come from a word in Proto-Germanic with AII in it. For instance, Proto-Germanic minas became mein in German and mine in English. So a word with EI in modern German might also have come from a Proto-Germanic word with long I in it. So long I and AI in Proto-Germanic eventually started being pronounced the same way as the language developed into modern German. This is an example of what's called a vowel merger. And the difficulties don't stop there. Not all words in Proto-Germanic with AI became words with long A in Old English. Wheat, for instance, comes from Old English Huete. The Proto-Germanic word for it is Huetias, which became Weizen in German. But despite all the messiness, we can still find many examples of words with O in English and EI in German. Here are some of them. There are many other interesting connections between these languages, not just in the vowels, but also in the consonants. But those will just have to wait for another video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more linguistics, and head over to my channel for language, culture, history, and memes.